Alright, so I was not able to finish all the books, which, I mean, when you see what I have read, like, so this basically is part one of the comic calls, but when you see what I read for part two, it will kind of make sense. Another way of explaining it is I got somehow get for some reason I got really damn distracted. I have no idea why. I have no idea like what caused me. Like, it's not like I was a bunch of YouTubers who uploaded. No, it's kind of like one of those things. But it was fine. No, I don't. It's not like I had to finish them by the ones I'm leaving behind aren't like it can be renewed easily. Without further ado, let's get into it. So I am going to re-review the ones I did last time. I was like, oh well, that was just stupid. I think that was really kind of a bad video, honestly. I was kind of like trailing off. I didn't know what to say. It was kind of one of those things. So the Batman is the second watch. Actually, I did not review this before. That's right, Tuesday. I watched it that night. But this is my second viewing of Batman. I watched it before, and I really the first time I saw it, I thought it was just all right. You know, I think it did a lot of things better than the other movies did. But I was kind of like, it's good, not great. I think now this movie is great. This is a really, really damn good Batman movie, and honestly, it did not feel as long as it did before. I mean, the only reason why it did was because I had started very late, so I was like starting to like really feel tired at like the 2.5 hour mark, and the movie's 3 hours. So other than that, I did not feel the length of this movie at all. And that's saying a lot because I'm not used to watching 3 hour movies. Scott Pilgrim Volume 6 is the best volume of the series, not because it's the last one, but because it gives you everything you would want in a Scott Pilgrim comic story, whatever you say. I did rewatch the movie, and it greatly improved. It's one of those things where it's one of those instances where it was really good watching the movie after I read the comics because it really complemented the comics and everything that it was a lot I didn't remember from the movie. Surprisingly enough, like when I was reading the comics, I was like, did I only vaguely remember that from the movies, and like some things I didn't remember at all. Like, oh, they adapted that. That's kind of weird. But I remembered enough to where I could tell you what the movie was about, like what happens in it, like stuff like that. But I wouldn't give you everything. I wouldn't be able to say everything. But I think that for adapting 6 of these, the movie that's not even 2 hours did a really damn good job. And I'm going to someday soon watch the Netflix show. It's a one season miniseries, so it's not way too long. I might knock it out in a week, honestly. Ruined, itch. Trying to itch with the book. I don't know why my voice did that. I was trying to itch with the book with the edges, but I didn't do it right. Ruined. This kind of ruined Sarah Vaughn for me. This was very boring. This was very dry. This was very not my thing. If you like the kind of like, honestly, I wouldn't even say it's for romance fans because it's just so boring and dry and been there, done that. Just it has a very rich life and here's very rich problems and it's very boring. Not to say about that about this, but I do like Sarah Vaughan's writing. Another book that, ironically enough, could take place in the same universe at the same time was Sleepless, and that just did everything that Ruined tries to do, or like, tries to make you care about the characters. Tries to write a good romance story. Tries to do something new, and Sleepless did all that, and none of y'all have read it. I'm assuming some have, but like, I talked about that movie. I talked about that comic a lot, and I'm surprised when I just picked up on it, or picked it up rather. Well, I haven't mentioned it that much. I would say. Figment, it was all right. I think that re kind of went to show that like there was no real reason to reread this other than the fact that Jim Zub wrote it. It's not my thing. I don't mind reading an all ages comic, but when something like this, I feel like I'm being talked down to. But there's 2 series in that. It was Figment 1 and Figment 2, collecting the entire series of Figment. I think Figment 2 was a lot better than Figment 1. I think that Jim Zub heard all the criticisms and he just fixed every problem people had with Figment 1, or wouldn't have with Figment 1. Symbiote Spider-Man, I thought was a phenomenal book. I cannot wait to read the second one. But I'm probably going to wait until the 2099 Symbiote Spider-Man comes to print. Not comes to print. Comes to the Marvel app and digital. So it's, even then it went on sale. Because it's 4 issues, and it might be $6.99. They might be considerate and make it $6.99. But if they add something stupid like, oh, here's the first appearance of the Symbiote and Amazing Spider-Man 256. No, 250. Here's the original Spider-Man symbiote from 252. Oh, here's Venom from 300. So we can make it $17.99 rather than $15.99. I'm saying for trade, or $15.99, or instead of making it $6.99, make it $8.99. Because technically it is 5 issues. Another thing I really liked about Symbiote Spider-Man was it really complemented that era. This was my favorite era of Spider-Man. Not only did Kraven's Last Hunt come out from this era, my favorite Spider-Man book, but it was just like captivating. It knew how to tell a story, everything that you wanted to know about the suit and about how it affected Peter. Like if you watch the movie, it's like, oh, I want a less goofy version of that. The 80s did that, which is insane to me to think about. The 80s was less goofy than the 2007 movie was. And this is a phenomenal book. I would say to check out, to get the Birth of Venom trade, and then get this, and then read this. Because it does, well, you can say, like, oh, I know the story. I've heard the story so many times, and like I watched a comic story and video on it. I think experiencing it for yourself would really, really help. You don't have to read Kraven's Last Hunt so far. But do read Birth of Venom. And the first few issues that are in now, like 252, 258. Because you don't even have to read the Venom, the Spider-Man 300 first appearance of Venom. Hawkeye, Kate Bishop, surprisingly good. I was not expecting anything coming into this. I had heard it wasn't that great, and I thought it was pretty good. Something I would read again, though. I would definitely read again because there's some things I missed, but the readability factor is pretty high with this one. Nothing like spectacular though. It still is just a generic Marvel comic, but there's nothing in it that I was insulted by, and that's saying a lot for a modern Marvel comic. Silk Volume 1 improved drastically from Silk Volume 0, which is just like the 7-issue miniseries. And I am kind of upset they don't have Volume 2, but not really, because Volume 2 is after a crossover with Spider-Woman. And yeah, I could just do... There's a bunch of crossovers with Silk, though. There's another one with Spider-Man, and it's like Spider-Gwen with the only two crossovers. One of them I read before was the Spider-Man one with Miles Morales, but then of course there was Spider-Verse don't count. But then there's Spider-Woman. It's really annoying. I wish that my library doesn't have it. I don't know why. It's kind of crazy to think they don't have it. They have all the volumes of the same library that has all the volumes of Spider-Gwen doesn't have the crossover that kind of like makes, like, yeah, they say previously in, I think after a while it didn't really matter to me because they don't focus on it so much. It's just kind of like a few issues, like, oh, this is what happened, Spider-Woman, and it's like, oh, I wish I'd read that because I would have known better. But it's still like, it tells you enough, so it catches you up. It's still like, what's the point? Yeah, Silk Volume 1 improves drastically on Silk Volume 0. And I would actually say that it's probably, it's not Robbie Thompson's worst book or anything like that. And it does, I'm trying to say, like, proves, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, it shows that he can be a good writer. Because with that in Spider-Man Deadpool, he does write pretty good. The jokes aren't the best. I hated. There was one thing I did not mention, my Spider-Man Deadpool. Surprised I didn't. And Spider-Man Deadpool reviews. One of the running jokes is that the two sharks watch Netflix a lot. That is the joke. There's two sharks and they watch Netflix. So they're like, oh, I'm gonna get back to watching my Netflix. So let's hurry up with this fight. Oh, can't wait to get home and get the Netflix. Oh, the Netflix doesn't work. Whatever we do. Like, that's humor that's so goddamn annoying, to me at least. And it wasn't all the time, though. It was like once every 5 issues, if that. Like once every arc. So, I think, like, it's not, like, egregious. And honestly, that's the least of my problems with Spider-Man Deadpool. Spider-Man Deadpool is again my second favorite Spider-Man. My second favorite Deadpool run. I got a new comment on my video I just uploaded. Cool. Don't get me wrong, I like the Keep Up the Good Work comments, but I also really like the, oh, I read Cos, there's one of the books I showed off, and one of the books you're reading too. Oh, I also read Cosby Detective. Funny, you read it at the same time I did. I also really enjoyed it. Or, sucks that happened with that one comic, or this, or that. And don't get me wrong, I like any comments, and that is a good comment. Great, awesome, but it's kind of like, I don't know. But honestly, I'm grateful for every comment, so I can't think of actually I'm complaining. But yeah, Spider-Man Deadpool is my second favorite Deadpool run, and that is just like it's such a non-issue, honestly. Like, everything else, I think that run did, especially what they did at the end with the meta jokes. I mean, not every meta joke landed. I think the constant like, oh, this is an event, but not really an event. That was kind of annoying, but I think honestly, I was glad that it wasn't an actual event. Like, it wasn't a Secret Empire tie-in, the final volume, like I thought it would be. Even though doing the math, that wouldn't have been. Or like a Empire tie-in. Which, and a quick little review on that. I'm like the last two issues in the Aftermath. Empire's just okay. Like, just okay. That's honestly all I'll say about it, so there you go. Gwenpool Volume 2. Just as good as the first one. I don't know when we get to the terrible Gwenpool, but I hope it's not in the first 4 volumes. I don't think it will be. I think it was written. I almost want to say it was written by someone else, or it was a reboot series. Like, it went back to one. It went back to an issue 1. Like, basically, it's the cringiest humor ever. Like, Gwenpool dabs, and he's trying to be like really like hip with the times, like how you do basically how do you do fellow kids comic version of that quote. Clobbering Time was a damn nice surprise. I will definitely be reading this maybe in the next 3 months, honestly. This might be the next Wonder Girl where I read it like very, very often. I don't know how often now that I have a job, but well, kind of a job, but I'll probably try and I'll try and read it often. Like, I'll probably, like, what I'll do is, like, oh, I'm done with, Doctor Strange. So, in place of Doctor Strange, I'll put in Clobbering Time. What I'm trying to do, if anything, is make it 10 comics in general. You know? And honestly, even if I didn't get a job, going back to 15 comics and 25 comics is the best idea ever. Like, disregarding my job or anything like that, it is the best idea. Like, honestly, this time around has been a bit of a pain in the ass. It was kind of like, oh yeah, I kind of wanted to play Xbox tonight. Oh, can't do that because I gotta read. And don't get me wrong, I love to read. Obviously, I love to read. But it's what I do. Like, my whole shtick here is comic reviews, comic hauls. You guys know I love reading comics, but sometimes reading 25 books per day becomes a huge pain in the ass. And this time it really did. And there'd be some people who would be very happy to hear that. Falcon and Winter Soldier was another surprise. I was not expecting a whole lot from the series. It's a little convoluted here and there, like like with Clobbering Time. I think it does go a bit too crazy, but at least in Clobbering Time, the artwork complemented that story, and it was supposed to be crazy. This one kind of just felt like it was trying to throw everything at the wall and see what stuck. But I still think it was good, and honestly, it's not as crazy as Clobbering Time. I don't know why it even implied that it was. There's a lot that happens in the book. There's like few twists and turns. It's like it made it more confusing than straightforward. I'd rather have had a more straightforward interpretation of that character, but not interpretation, but a more straightforward interpretation of that type of character. But it's really weird. But going back to Clobbering Time, it's written and drawn by Steve Scrosay, and I think it's all I need to say, honestly, with that. But the artwork is so damn good. One thing I do have to give one little warning is that it's not all about the Hulk. Even though the Hulk and the Thing are on the same cover, it's lots of train of thought. It's more a Ben Grimm story, which I didn't mind at all. It's still damn good. So if you're looking for a Hulk and the Thing crossover, you're really only gonna get that in the first issue. But I thought it was really good. There is one thing in there, and I think it's supposed to be a tongue-in-cheek. It's one of those like lecture things where this random guy lectures Ben, and I think it's supposed to be making fun of those types of making fun of those instances in comics. And honestly, it's so like if I hadn't known about it beforehand, it's like I'd heard about when that issue released, I had heard about it, and I was like, oh my god, it's kind of stupid what it did in the comic. And at first I thought it was a Ryan North Fantastic Four comics. I think they incorrectly stated which one it was, and it was like, oh, Fantastic Four issue 6, Ryan North. But then they got it wrong. It was actually Clobbering Time. If I hadn't known about that prior, I probably would not have cared. I probably wouldn't have just been like, yeah, whatever. Even then, I didn't really care that much because of how good Clobbering Time was. Captain Marvel Volume 3, not the final volume of the Colors to the Comic run. There was one more that I'll be getting today. But this one I thought was decent. I thought it was the best of... No, decent. I thought this one was the best of the best. The best of this run and the best of Captain Marvel, honestly. That I've read so far. But of this era. This is right before they really ruined Captain Marvel's character with Civil War 2. So she's still a competently written enough character. There's nothing in here that is gonna piss off people that don't already hate Captain Marvel. And honestly, I'm kind of in the middle. Like I would never pick up a Captain Marvel book myself unless it was on a discount or it was part of a series. Like the end Captain Marvel I only picked up because it was one of the last the ends. But I didn't even pick up Captain Marvel's Avengers snapshots. Like that should go to show. I probably never will because I keep forgetting about it when I get my little Kindle rewards for $3. There's always like, I'm gonna get because there's something I can get. That's why I just decided to hell with it and got Batman Reptilian because that was the only thing. I was like, I really want that and I'm gonna get it. But this one I did think was the best of the best, and I think that even people that don't like Captain Marvel should check out this run. Kill Core is the only one I have not read. Ghost Rider Volume 2 is just insane. This is the best all-new, all-different version. This is the best all-new, all-different character. Next to Miles Morales. That actually doesn't count, because Miles Morales is 2011. But this complements the Ghost Rider lineage. It offers something different. It offers something all-new, all-different. It is an all-new, all-different Ghost Rider. And none of it is preachy, none of it is like, oh, this is the bestest character ever. No, this character is extremely flawed, but still is a good character at the end of the day. And it ends on a cliffhanger that's like, damn, I wish they had concluded that. From what I can tell, it is a complete collection. It collects a 5-issue miniseries after this, but from what I remember, people were saying, like, people were saying, like, it doesn't even feature the character at all. It's just these two random guys, and they focus on Ghost Rider. It's not really a good follow-up. So this is all I'm going to read. If they have the follow-up, I'll check it out at the library, but other than that, I'll skip it. Avengers World. This one was... I lost the train of thought. Oh, this one was one I've read a bunch of times, and each time I read it, I like it. I still enjoy it. I just want to say I enjoy this one a little bit less than I did the previous time, but it's still a damn good book. And I still do feel that, for the most part, you can read this, and you don't have to read anything else. Like, you can read this as... So long as you know, like, what's happening, like, a little bit, you won't be too confused. Because this was coming out at the time as all the other Avengers. You had New Avengers, the original Avengers, the adjective-less Avengers. I think you had... I think that was it, actually. It was like 3 Avengers series going on. Probably some little spin-off of the Avengers books. But this one, you could probably read just by itself, I would say. There's not a whole lot, because the one crossover with Axis, but even then I told you what happens. Say previously in Axis, so they get you up. Doctor Strange, Mr. Misery was also a phenomenal story, and probably the best of the... Why is it always the last one they go all out? It's kind of funny. Like Captain Marvel, Colors of the Comic goes all out, and Doctor Strange, Jason Aaron goes all out. It's kind of funny. And Scott Pilgrim, Brian Lee O'Malley goes all out. But this one was the best of the best. I really enjoyed this one. I keep saying the same thing, so I think something different. I mean, I've read this a bunch of times before, so I mean, you're bound, even if you're somewhat new to this channel, it's bound to you're bound to have known that how you feel about this comic. This is one that each time I read it, it does get a bit better. So there is that too. Like everything I said about it last time, double that basically. Hellboy Volume 2. And they don't have Volume 3 because Volume 3 came in bad condition. It's such bad condition that the librarian was like, we gotta return it to the library for repairs. And honestly, I don't mind taking a 1 week hiatus, or however long it's gonna be until I get to the library after this time. Hiatus from Hellboy. Because this, while it is good, was more fast paced than the first volume and started to remind me why I liked Hellboy so much, it was still kind of slow. In comparison to Hellboy. Like, Hellboy is usually more faster paced, but this one was kind of slow for, kind of slow for a Hellboy book. Still good, though. Still enjoyed it. Why the fell? It wasn't even, like... I swear to God it was because my phone charger, like, brushed against it. Here we are kind of... Now it's really rocking boat. So it's like smaller to bigger. Channel Zero was not my thing, but also was. I think the only thing this book needed to do was not have so much of this. It's narration. When it actually is telling a story with its dialogue and everything else, it is pretty damn interesting. It reminded me of what I used to really like about DMZ. Now, I almost bought the rest of what I needed for Brian Wood's Image Comics run, but this first volume was from Image Comics, so I was kind of like, yeah, should I, shouldn't I, or should I just get this from Dark Horse and just, say screw it? I don't know. I'll probably try and do that either next month or in June or something. Oh, it's only $20. But I didn't want to do that. I'll already enough with, I actually can't afford to anyways. Let's actually check and see. I already couldn't, because getting everything but Channel Zero would have been above my price range already. Because I was working off a gift card, if you will. So, Channel Zero. Brian Wood. And I probably would get the collection. Yeah, it's $59. It's out of print. Acceptable. What else I got? Very good. But like new. Oh my god! Well, very good. It's like $20 for like new, and you gotta add shipping to that too. Okay, very good stuff. It's Prime. Why is Prime showing up? But you didn't show up before. Oh, that's why. $41 for a new copy. That's infamously out of print. Also, while I'm here, I'm gonna check the status of my damn sex criminals bonus taking forever that you can ship. Preparing for shipment. The House of Lost Horizons is yet another Chris Robertson snooze fest. Thank the Lord, all I have from him is one 5-issue miniseries from Image Comics. I might just read that, like, next, just so I can get, maybe it's the best thing he's ever written. The Sovereign did interest me. Honestly, reading the back of this, would it interest me? Yeah, I probably would. This is one of those things where it's just, oh yes, like, it's like the anti-murder mystery. Everything is so, the characters are boring, you don't care about the characters, you don't care about the story, it's boring. There is a bonus story at the end here that I really, like, why didn't you go all out like you did with the bonus? The bonus story is exactly what I would have expected from this. Like a Hellboy universe murder mystery takes place back in the olden days, like an Agatha Christie. Basically think of it as Agatha Christie written from the Hellboy writers. Like, hell yeah, I want that. And the only instance of that even like showing is the bonus story. It's like 10 pages. And by then I was so burnt out. I was like, yeah, it's good, but I'm so glad we're done with this. Non-recommend. I will be trying to, best I can, doing a out of 10 review. 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, that kind of thing. I'll go through them again. The Illegitimate almost made my pick of the week. This was very fast paced, very zany, very not very zany, but very like action packed, but also had a good story. A little bit confusing, too many characters a bit, but I didn't care. So spoilers, it's the anti Outpost Zero. But Outpost Zero, yeah, boring. But you'll be getting that review next time. Oh, that's right too. I'm an idiot. Outpost Zero didn't finish. I was like, oh, the only one I didn't finish that wasn't a reread. So yeah, it doesn't really matter finishing Empire or any other books because I was trying to finish those today. But yeah, it doesn't matter. Cosmic Detective. Almost my pick. Like by this, the only reason why it's not a pick of the week is because the book coming up. But this was pretty damn good. The artwork was so damn good that Matt Kindt and Jeff Lemire gave him a lot of splash page panels, which is something like this. Can you try that? It's a bit risque, but like that was just no dialogue. But then you can have something like this. That's a better one to show. But it really, they really wanted to compliment David Rubin's artwork the best they could, and they really went for it. But again, I would think I said this before in my because I did buy this book myself. I loved it so much about myself, even though the library had it. And one of the things I said when I was going over the book was that it's more of a Matt Kindt book than a Jeff Lemire book. I could be wrong, but I feel like it's more of a Matt Kindt book. I did think of reaching out to him, but it was one of those things where you type it out and like that. This seems like I'm not typing it out, and no offense, but I'm going to say an offensive word, but I literally said to myself, this looks like the most retarded thing ever, and I deleted that. I need to word it differently. Lumberjanes volume, what are we on now? 5 is better than the past 2 volumes, and did get to what I liked about Lumberjanes. Like it improved. Got back to the Grace Ellis stuff. I guess, as much as I hate to say it, but I think Grace Ellis is the best thing that ever came out of Lumber. It's the best thing that ever. I don't want to say it came out of Lumberjanes, but like she's the best writer. Basically, what I'm trying to say. But I was failing it completely. Catwoman Volume 1, I hope up to. This is another Joelle Jones masterpiece. This again almost became a pick of the week. And we're truly going out with a bang on this one. And honestly, so even though like Outpost Zero I didn't finish, and it's not a reread, and Empire, those are the only 2 that aren't rereads. And honestly, Outpost Zero isn't even. It honestly would be the exact opposite of pick of the week, the drop of the week. And Empire is just kind of generic and just okay. So I can legitimately say, like, yeah, this is pick of the week. This is that. So we truly did go out with a bang with this one. But it was another Joelle Jones masterpiece. Her really damn good pacing is present here. She really knows how to keep your interest and not how to, because some books do falter. Like, it's not their fault, so to speak. But like some books, like will feel very slow. We're only on page 12. How? And then I'll be like, oh, we gotta be almost done. Oh no, we have 20 pages left. And one of those things, like Empire was that in a nutshell, like that feeling in a nutshell. And Joelle Jones is like, yeah, okay. Even if it was a 40-page issue special, she still knew how to make it feel like it was your average issue. And the average issue felt like it. Like honestly, the 6 issues are like, oh my god, we're already done. I read that in like 5 minutes. That's how fast paced her storytelling is. And it's not just like, okay, I want to show artwork and and then not have a completely written story. No, it's still a completely written story. And I think the best kind of writer can make a book either super fast paced and keep your interest, but still make it completely written up and not make it too fast paced. Like one downside will get Cosmic Detective is like with Beowulf, another Dave Rubin illustrated comic, but this one was written by Cindy Garcia for Beowulf. Both felt very fast paced, almost too fast paced. I mean, 200 pages took me like 2 hours to read, and it was like almost all one thing. Like, no breaks really. Oh, good. Just very low. I was like, oh my god, out of storage. Right, I'm plugging this guy. I can't wait to see he's fully charged. Nice. I just said to myself, oh shit, I didn't get the mail. The book that I got today came in the mail. How else would I have? My brain don't work. Next up, we have Deathstroke, and yeah, if it wasn't my other books, this would be my pick of the week. It's good. I understand people like it, but I'm not too dismayed that they only have the first 2 volumes of this series. The Rebirth one-shot was the best of the best. The best of this volume. Everything else was still good, don't get me wrong, but not spectacular. Like, it's still good. It's above... Honestly, it's one of the better Rebirth books, but... And I will consider the omnibus, but I'm not going to rush out and get the omnibus. It's still good, don't get me wrong, but, Batman Year One I talked about before. I said this was one of those books that I know I can understand why people like this. I can understand why it's so well regarded, but I think it's only because of what we got after. It's kind of like it set the stone, it set the landmark for everything that came out after. Like this book blocked so all these other Batman comics could run, and I think this is like still a completely written enough story, but it's not really Batman Year One, it's Gordon Year One, which I don't mind, but it would have been nice if I had known that going in. Batman Tom King Volume 5, like a lot of Tom King books, it's just okay. It's not terrible. I think this is one of his better written books, but still has a lot of isms in here. But I honestly do say that if you don't like Tom King that much, to maybe check this one out, because it's not like his isms are in here, but he still writes a completely written enough story. I think it's at least kept my interest throughout. I could ignore like this kind of thing that happens in it, or this the way that he writes this character or that character, but your mileage may vary. Keep stuttering. All-Star Batman Volume 2. This is the best Batman Rebirth run. And not just because oh you have that or Tom King. No, because you have that Detective Comics by James Tynion and Tom King Batman. I guess they're the same thing twice, but you get what I'm saying. And it does, and yet again, like I said, I'll say it yet again. It proves that Scott Snyder can still write competently enough without doing like multiverse this and multiverse that. But that was before, I want to say. Like, I think the multiverse shit really started in Dark Knight's Metal. But I want to say it started in his Batman run too, like towards the end. Riddler Year One is my pick of the week. This is a phenomenal book that complements the Batman, and also, like, I would say, even though this is a prequel comic, you should read it after the events, or after watching the Batman like I did, because it really like complements everything. Like, oh, I remember this in Batman. Like, it's not just member berries. It's like, oh, I pay attention to Batman. I remember this. I remember that. So it improves on everything that Batman did. Like, this is like everything a miniseries should do. Everything a licensed comic should do. And Paul Dino, I want more from him. But maybe something that's not Batman or Riddler related. Maybe like do an Image comic. But don't 10 years later don't 10 years later be like, oh, you know what? It's Oni Press now. Like with the certain Jeff Parker did with the Underground. So TLDR for that. You didn't watch that video. So I like getting Image comics. Like, I've been getting all Image comics recently. Just my preference, my preferred. It's kind of like what I like to get. And Jeff Parker had an Image comic series called Underground, and the new printing is Oni Press. I didn't find it out until after I bought it, and it was kind of annoying because I probably could have just scrolled down a little bit or just did an Underground Image comics, would have found the original printing. But it counts as an Image comic. Even though it says Oni Press on the spine, and everywhere else, it's an Image comic. And no one told me anything different. This book, The Mysteries, is so fast paced that it's kind of not that great. Like it's like you're reading it, you're like, okay, all right, it's pretty cool. Oh, good artwork here. It's great. It's just great to think that Calvin and Hobbes did this. That's like, I mean, I haven't read Calvin and Hobbes, but I always think that Calvin and Hobbes is like for kids, and this is kind of more adults. This is pretty good. Oh, it's kind of cool. Again, it's kind of funny that it's a picture book, but I'm an adult picture book, and I wonder where this is gonna go. Wait, it's already over. That was exactly how I was reading this book. It's so good. I still think if you have like 5 minutes to kill, read this one. But it's like, is it? Like, I would not condone spending money on that unless you want to get everything by Bill Watterson and you want to support Bill Watterson. But even that, like, just buy Calvin and Hobbes compendiums. Honestly, so $20 is a lot for me to ask to pay for that. I think I get $11 on Amazon. So let me get on Amazon. But even then, $11. This is coming from a guy who's more story than artwork, obviously. Skip to the end. I'm not gonna do this thing. I'm like, like I did last time. I was like, oh, it feels like the indie book, and it's the best parts and the worst parts. Now, I'm just gonna say, like, it's hard to explain what I was trying to say, but it is still a very completely written book. But the characters are a bit undercooked, but not too to the point where it's like Outpost Zero, where I didn't care about them. And it's just more to the point where they almost didn't feel like characters. I felt like they were just kind of, going through the motions, but not all the time. And I think that this overall is a good book. And if you it's more me just going into it as someone who is, has read a lot of comics, But I think this being someone's first indie book would be a really good choice. Because not only is this all one, not only is this a good price, this is $25 for a book that's wider and taller than your average trade, and, well, I wouldn't say hardcover, but your standardized hardcover. But this would be a good gift to someone who wants to get into Image, who wants to get into indie books. It's not from Image, it's from Insight. And last but not least, Sin City Volume 2. I think the California was. This has been such a joy to come back to. I knew twists and turns here, but I still, because of how much that floored me the first time I read this book, it's still I still felt that almost that same kind of feeling. Obviously not the same exact feeling, but it was so, honestly, a good way to explain it is it hit so hard the first time that it was still left over from that first time I read it. So it was almost like getting so high, I guess. You're high the next morning, so you're so dry the next morning, kind of thing like that. But that's how this book was. It was still hitting that same high, but not all the way, kind of thing. You obviously you'll never forget your first time, but it was still as good as the first time, if not even a little better. Now I'm going to do an out of 10 reviews, the rest of these. And I guess I could tag them, actually. I was going to say I could tag them with the rest of them, but nah. Okay, so Batman, I would give a 9 out of 10. Scott Pilgrim is a 10 out of 10. 3 out of 10 for Ruined. Oh, I did obviously. Yeah, I did finish it. Oh, one thing about Channel Zero, I didn't read the bonus stories. I was so burnt out by the end of that. I was like, nope, done, going to bed. Good night. Figment, I would give a 6 out of 10. Symbiote Spider-Man, I would give a 8.5 to 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. Maybe a 9.5, honestly. Hawkeye, give a 6.5 out of 10. Silk, I give a 7.5 out of 10. Gwenpool, 8.5 out of 10. Clobber in Time, 9 out of 10. Falcon and Winter Soldier, 6 out of 10. Captain Marvel, 8.5 out of 10. Or whatever, if I gave it 8.5 last time, 9 out of 10, but that seems too high. Ghost Rider, a 9 out of 10. Avengers World, 8 out of 10. Doctor Strange, 8 out of 10. Hellboy, 6 out of 10. Channel Zero, 5.5 out of 10. Lost Horizons, 2 out of 10. Illegitimates, 9 out of 10. Cosmic Detective, 9.5 out of 10. Lumberjanes, 7.5 out of 10. Catwoman, 9.5 out of 10. Deathstroke, 8 out of 10. Batman Year One, controversial, but 7 out of 10. No, it's 8 out of 10. I'll say 8 out of 10. Batman by Tom King, 7 out of 10. There, it's lower than Batman Year One. Batman by Scott Snyder, 8.5 out of 10. Riddler Year One, 10 out of 10. The mysteries, I'll be fair, 8 out of 10. I know I said it was so fast paced, but I mean, it was fast paced, and it wasn't confusing at all. I still got what was going on, but it's just kind of like, that's it. Kind of leaves you floored a bit, not floored. It kind of leaves you like almost confused, honestly, of how it's all going to be over. 9 out of 10 for Skip. 7.5 out of 10 for Skip to the End. And then Sin City is a 10 out of 10. There's a reread, so it does not count. Rereads never count as a pick of the week. Unless every other book really sucked that hard, like all the read them for the first times. If those all suck, then fine. Or if it's like last week where it was almost all rereads. I do try and not pick a reread as a pick of the week. This is a bit unfair. But that, as I say, is that. 41 minutes. Okay, I'm done.